Hello everybody. So this video goes along with my newsletter about electrolytes. I just wanted to give you some of my voice over what we're talking about. So what are electrolytes? Electrolytes are minerals, also kind of interchangeably called salts, and they carry a charge. That's where the electro in electrolytes come from. They're going to carry a positive charge like sodium or potassium, or they're going to carry a negative charge like chloride or bicarbonate. And so ultimately these minerals, these salts, these electrolytes, their purpose in the body is to maintain fluid balance and to help with cell communication. So in terms of fluid balance, this is why people think of electrolytes for hydration. Water follows solute. So if you remember osmosis, water is going to move from higher concentrations to lower concentrations relative to the stuff that's in it. So if you have a bunch of salt over here and not a lot of salt over here, the water is going to move towards the salt. It's going to move towards the electrolytes. So one example of this, to think about it a different way, is if you take milk of magnesia for constipation. One of the ways the way milk of magnesia works is it's magnesium hydroxide. So it's an electrolyte with hydroxide attached to it that makes it really poorly absorbed. So when you take this electrolyte, this magnesium sits in your colon and pulls water towards it to soften your stool and make it easier to poop. So that's one of the ways that electrolytes kind of helps with fluid balance, is it can either pull it out of you or put it into you, but electrolytes help move water around. So there's another example in the newsletter where I talk about blood pressure and why people kind of watch salt there. In terms of cell communication, another really important role of electrolytes, it sounds like electricity, right? And these minerals carry a charge, and our nerves communicate via movement of charge, movement of ions, to create these little electrical impulses to release neurotransmitters and do all the things that we do. So by them carrying a charge and us collecting and kind of forcing certain minerals to one side or the other of a membrane, we can create these positive and negative gradients, and these gradients allow your nerves to fire, allow muscles to contract, your heart to beat. And if you think about all those functions, heartbeat, muscle contractions, just nerve communication, too many or too few electrolytes are typically going to affect your cardiovascular and your neurological function. The other kind of like sneaky way that electrolytes work is they're minerals, and they act as sort of the inorganic cofactor for enzyme activity. So your enzymes need these minerals as well. So that leads us to who needs electrolytes. Everybody needs them. Our body has all sorts of ways to manage electrolytes. If you go ahead and Google, you can Google like, how does the body regulate calcium? And there's like a billion mechanisms, and let alone sodium and potassium and all these other things. Electrolytes are really, really important to our normal functioning and our survival. Because of that, everybody needs them, and the body has a multitude of redundant mechanisms. If this one doesn't work, this one's going to work. If this one doesn't work, this one's going to work. There's multiple mechanisms to maintain and regulate electrolytes because they're so damn important. So that leads us to the question, who needs supplemental electrolytes? Like, who needs more? If our body's already so good at regulating them, who needs more? Very hardworking, sweaty athletes, people in hot, sweaty environments, and folks with medical conditions where their electrolytes might need to be manipulated. So think in the post-concussion world, think of POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. They need a lot more electrolytes than the general population. But remember what we just said, the body does a really good job at regulating electrolytes. So really the only folks that are going to need to supplement are those individuals that lose electrolytes more quickly. So think really heavy, hot, sweaty people. Not heavy people, but heavy work, hot, sweaty people. And then if there's a medical necessity, so usually due to a cardiovascular or neurological condition. How hard do you have to work out when we're talking about that heavy, hot, sweaty condition? How hard do you have to work out? So this goes back to my Instagram quiz, which I'll pop up somewhere here. I showed a workout where I was running. I circled the time. I circled kind of the heart load or the heart effort, the polar set I had, and then I highlighted some of my workout intensities in terms of heart rate max. So how hard do we have to work out? Typically, we'll only consider supplementing athletes with electrolytes during and after their exercise if they've performed moderate activity for more than 2 hours. So moderate, thinking 65 to 75% of your heart rate max for 2 hours or more. We're thinking about athletes who are performing vigorous activity for at least an hour or more. So vigorous activity being like 85% plus of your heart rate max. And then we're also thinking about repeated bouts of tournament play. So we're thinking moderate activity for more than 2 hours, vigorous activity for more than an hour, or repeated bouts of heavy physical activity, so like an ice hockey tournament over a weekend. Regarding my Instagram poll, I did not need electrolytes. And a lot of people, a lot of doctors even said I needed electrolytes. Here's why I didn't. My activity was only 30 minutes. 10 minutes of that were vigorous, so I was reaching above 80% of my heart rate max, kind of pushing 90, but that was not for an hour or more. 20 minutes were moderate. That was not for 2 hours or more. That was only 30 minutes of total activity, 20 minutes of moderate, 10 minutes of vigorous. I was really rehydrating sufficiently if I took in 16 to 20 ounces or 500 to 600 mils of water after my workout. You can hydrate just fine with water. So go ahead and check out the rest of the newsletter for sort of electrolyte timing. Really, it's going to be during or after activity, but if you want to read that. And then go ahead and check out a few of my favorite supplements. I don't have financial ties to any of them, but they're just the ones that I like, that patients have liked, and I tell you the one that I use in particular. And remember though, with all of this, keep it really simple. Foundations like simply drinking enough water in the first place are far more important than the bells and whistles and fanciness of trying to find the perfect supplement if you're not drinking enough water in the first place. Electrolytes don't hydrate you, they just tell the water where to go. You still need the water. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and share this with someone you think might need it. Spread the word of the newsletter. Hope you have a good one.